Hello, my name is Dale Wilhite, live in Mountain Village, Colorado. And this here is a concept that I call the American Trucking Relay Team. It's not, the permanent title for it. It's just something simple and basic so you can get the idea. And of course it's modeled after, people who run a track and engage in relay teams. I've been in them when I was in high school and sports and so forth, and we all have. So you know what a relay team is. Simply put, my concept here would help truck drivers get their loads from one part of the country to the next at a lot faster pace than they do now. An example, it's about 2,190 miles from Atlanta, Georgia to Los Angeles, California. Now it can take almost 4 days to get there for a truck driver to drive from Atlanta to Los Angeles if he obeys the speeding laws and so forth like that. If he drove at 55 miles an hour for his 11 hours of time that he can now drive before having to take a 10-hour break, it would take him almost 4 days. Because it would take him about 550 miles. He would only be able to drive about 550 miles on an interstate if he drove at 55 miles per hour. So it's almost going to take him 4 days to get there. Okay. But with a trucking relay team, he would get there in a day and a quarter sooner. Although it wouldn't be him, it would be somebody else. Simply put, a truck driver leaves out of Atlanta, Georgia, and he drives his 11 hours. Now, of course, the trucking companies have it all set up to where he will stop probably just before his 11 hours is up at a certain point where another trucker who's all rested up and ready to go will be there to greet him. And usually it will be at a truck stop because each truck driving companies have their own special truck stops that they stop off to get fuel and to get paid because that's where truck drivers get paid at. I used to work for J.B. Hunt and McKinsey Tank Lines, so that'll give you an idea that I know something a little bit about this. Anyhow, leaves out of Atlanta, and let's say he ends up at a truck stop just prior to his 11 hours of driving, let's say in Mississippi. Okay. There will be another truck driver there waiting for him. As he comes in, the only thing he has to do pretty much is fuel his truck up, or the other driver will fuel his truck up and take off. And then that truck driver who's driven 11 hours will go to a motel for his 10-hour break. So the second truck driver will drive close to 11 hours, and he will stop off probably at another truck stop, designated truck stop, and another trucker will pick it up and take it on. Technically put, it would take about 44 hours. It would take about 4 days for a truck driver to drive by himself from Atlanta, Georgia to Los Angeles, California at 55 miles an hour. 11 hours, that'd be about 550 miles a day. Of course, some truckers drive faster. When I drove for J.B. Hunt and McKinsey Tank Lines, they had governors on the engines, and so we could only go as fast as 55 miles an hour. But if you have a relay team, that truck driver will get there, like say, a day and a quarter sooner than he would if he drove 11 hours, took a break, drove 11 hours, took a break. Simply put, if a truck driver left at 12 p.m. on the 1st of the month, he would not get to L.A. till around 2 p.m., 1 p.m., 2 p.m., maybe 12 p.m. On the 4th day. But if you had a relay team and you left at 12 p.m. on the first day, he would get there around 4 to 6 a.m. on the 3rd day. That's a lot sooner. That's about, maybe 30 hours sooner, 32 hours sooner, basically. Maybe, again, the statistics are not perfect, because there's difference in driving and there's difference in stopping and so forth like that. Now, you would ask, well, what about team drivers? A lot of your team drivers are husbands and wives. Well, yeah, that's a good idea, but still a lot of them have to stop off together and they'll both go to sleep together. That's, when you're married like that, you're not exactly one's just going to drive and while the other sleeps. It doesn't work that way. The other thing of it is that it's very difficult for truck driving companies to have team drivers because they drive each other crazy. The man that trained me when I drove for J.B. Hunt, I wanted to kill him. And I'm a person who seldom ever gets very angry. But I wanted to kill this guy. He was driving me absolutely crazy. Especially stopping off in Nevada, where I'd have to hang out at a casino in Reno while he goes off outside the city somewhere and has sex with a prostitute. And the man's a married man. He'd been driving at that time for 26 years. He may be dead now. This was way back in the early 90s. The prostitute probably killed him somewhere. So this guy loved prostitutes. But anyhow, team drivers is not a very is not a good way for trucking companies to do business, because it's just you get on each other's nerves. You're in that closed cab for so long, and you just get on each other's nerves in no time. No telling how many divorces have resulted in husband and wife teams driving across the country. Although there are some that do quite well. They really love with each other, and actually they just live on the road. No way else to put it. But truck driving relay teams are the best way to go about it. Here's another reason why. It's because when I used to drive from McKenzie Tank Lines out of Mobile, Alabama, and J.B. Hunt out of Atlanta, you seldom ever got an 8-hour break. When I drove from McKenzie Tank Lines, it would take me 45 minutes to get home when I came in, and then 45 minutes to get back. Sometimes I'd leave an hour and a half early. I seldom ever got 8 hours sleep. Back then, it was in the early 90s. It was you drive 10, 8 off, but they don't include the fact that you have to drive home. Because with McKenzie Tank Lines, it wasn't 48 state. I just drove locally in the state: Alabama, Florida, Georgia, Mississippi, Louisiana, and sometimes over to Texas. Although I never went to Texas, or actually Louisiana. But you don't really get those 8 hours sleep. And with JB Hunt, it's iffy of whether you're really going to get 8 hours sleep. And if you don't go to sleep right away, you've got some problems when you have to start driving again. That's why the relay team is better, because if you can have a truck driver that can drive his 11 hours and be in a motel in less than an hour, he can actually get some sleep, and it might result in him driving, 10 hours later, a little bit better and not be as tired, because a lot of trucking accidents are caused by truck drivers who are tired. And that's why this relay team is so important, because they're just going to keep going for those 11 hours, pretty much. But if they can get off, and if and they want to fix it up where there's a motel within just less than a mile away at least, then that will be a big help there. But basically put, truck driving companies need relay teams. They need them badly. And this is how you can get a load to its destination at a lot faster pace and a lot safer. And you have truck drivers that are not tired, because you want these truck drivers to be well rested. And apparently the reason why a lot of them are not well rested is because they are pushed to the limit. A lot of them speed even though they're not supposed to, unless they have a governor on their engine. And they just don't always get that big break that they really need. They really should require a 12-hour break, if you ask me. But these 8-hour breaks like I had was just absolutely murderous, especially if you can't sleep all of a sudden. If you're drinking caffeine to stay awake, then you're trying to go to sleep, when your break comes up, but you've got all that caffeine in you, and that is a big problem. And of course, you have a number of truck drivers out there that are insomniacs, who have they don't have any test people who apply for truck driving jobs or any driving jobs to see if they're insomniacs. And that's another reason why you have so many accidents out there among truck drivers, or just drivers in general. It's because you have people that are insomniacs and they can't sleep, but yet they're dozing while they're driving. I do that a few times. Simply put, my idea is that you need a truck driving relay team. And if truck driving companies would adopt this idea of mine, it's better than team drivers, because, again, you don't have each other getting on each other's nerves. You don't have them walking off the job. I've seen a truck driving team one time where one driver just walked away. It was at Still Became Corporation in Fort St. Joe, Florida, which later became Arizona Chemical, and just this year closed down. Where one truck driver one time got out from a long haul trucking company, and he just walked away. He couldn't stand the other person he was with. So this here makes it simple, and these trucking companies will actually probably preserve and save drivers, because they lose a number of drivers when they're with teams, and it doesn't work very well. So anyway, that's my idea. I hope that one day a trucking company will adopt this idea, give it a shot, give it a try, and see what happens. And maybe trucking companies can get their loads to their destinations at a lot faster pace. Thank you for your time.